Dr. Mason Cade was never one for respect, especially not for the dead. A brilliant, cocky xenoarchaeologist, Mason had unearthed ancient tombs from Mars to Europa, but nothing had prepared him for what lay beneath the red sands of Sector 9 on Mars. The excavation had taken weeks. Hidden deep under the ruins of an extinct alien city, the chamber had been sealed for what the scanners said was over 100,000 years. No life, no power, just silence and dust. Mason's team had called it the Black Vault because of the pitch-dark crystal doors, smooth and silent like frozen smoke. Even the robotic drones had refused to go in, their sensors scrambled, as if something ancient pushed back. But Mason had no time for superstition. He stepped inside the tomb with a grin and his favorite catchphrase, streaming live to millions. Back on Earth. Let's see what the Martian boogeyman was hiding. The air inside was thick and dry, like it hadn't been touched in millennia. Strange alien symbols glowed faintly along the walls. At the center of the chamber, lying on a stone dais, was a figure wrapped in blackened bandages, impossibly tall and inhuman. Its chest had sunken into its ribs, its face was long and narrow, and instead of eyes, there were twin gemstones embedded in the skull. Its body was wrapped in strange armored coils, like ceremonial armor fused into the corpse. Mason chuckled. Well, look at this big guy. This must have been the local king of ugly. Probably died from bad fashion sense. The viewers online laughed. Mason leaned in closer, tapping the gemstone with a stylus. Bet if I poked this thing hard enough, it'd just crumble to dust. Someone cued the horror music. He turned to what? His team and waved dismissively. Bag it up, get the scanners. Let's take a selfie with Mummy Extraterrestrial. Then the room trembled. Softly at first, like a breath. The crystal walls began to hum. Lights flickered. Mason froze, eyes wide, suddenly unsure if this was some trap or a system reboot. His team shouted warnings, but Mason didn't hear them. The mummy moved. Its hand twitched. One long armored finger curled. The gemstones in its skull began to glow, not with reflected light, but from within. A deep crimson pulse throbbed through the chamber, making every bone in Mason's body ache. Then it spoke. The voice was ancient, metallic, deep, like a collapsing star. The sound didn't come from the mouth, but from everywhere, the walls, the ground inside Mason's own skull. You, ... are the one I've been waiting for. Mason stumbled back, heartbeat crashing against his ribs. What the hell? That's not possible. You're dead. I was dreaming, the alien said. Until now. The mummy sat up slowly, its armor cracked with age, but still held power. Its arms stretched out, ancient joints, groaning like glaciers, shifting after centuries. The gemstones flared brighter, casting a blood-red light across the chamber. You carry the spark, it said, now turning its gaze directly to Mason. The last of the fire. The one chosen to end the dark. Mason's breath caught in his throat. I'm just an archaeologist. No, the mummy said. You are the answer. You are the weapon. Behind them, the entrance of the tomb slammed shut. The room grew hotter, pressure rising. Mason felt something stir deep inside him, a warmth in his chest that wasn't his own. Some part of him, something old and buried, had heard the call. His hands trembled. The last thing he heard before the light. Swallowed everything was the alien's final words. It begins again. Mason couldn't breathe. His lungs felt like they were filled with fire. The tomb was shaking, the walls humming with strange energy. Red light poured from the ancient mummy, who was now fully awake and sitting tall on the stone platform. Dr. Mason Cade had always thought he was in control. But now, he felt like a small piece in someone else's game. What? What do you mean I'm the weapon? Mason asked, his voice shaking. His heart pounded hard in his chest, not from fear, but from something else. Something ancient, something alive inside him. The mummy turned its head slowly, eyes glowing like twin stars. You carry the blood of the spark-bearers, humans touched by the flame of origin long ago. Mason stepped back, confused. What flame? What are you talking about? 30,000 of your years ago, the alien continued, your kind were nothing, barely walking upright. But one tribe found something they should not have, a fragment of power left behind after the War of Silence. It changed them, gave them strength, vision, purpose. Mason blinked, his mind spinning. That's just a story, a myth. The alien's voice deepened. And yet here you are, joke teller with the mind of a builder, full with the heart of fire. Mason frowned. I'm not special. I dig holes and talk to cameras. The alien stood now. He was over 8 feet tall, his form covered in black armor marked with glowing runes. The air around him pulsed. You may not believe it yet, but the darkness believes in you. The void plague stirs again. It felt your presence. That is why I woke. Void plague, Mason repeated. What the hell is that? The end, the alien said simply. A living shadow that eats worlds. It came once before. We stopped it, barely. I was entombed to wait for the next who could carry the spark. Now that is you. Mason looked down at his hands. His skin was glowing faintly, tiny golden lines running under his flesh like veins of light. He hadn't noticed them before. Suddenly, shouts echoed from outside the tomb. Mason's team. Dr. Cade, are you in there? Mason turned, running toward the sealed door. But the alien raised a hand. Wait, they cannot help you now. They're my team, Mason argued. I won't leave them. The alien sighed. Think you must see for yourself? With a wave of his hand, the wall turned transparent like glass. Mason stared in horror. Giant mechanical drones, shaped like spiders with glowing red eyes, had risen from the sand outside the excavation. His team was running, screaming, being cut down one by one. No. Mason slammed his fist against the crystal. Do something. You said you're a warrior. I cannot leave the tomb, the alien said. It's not until you accept the flame. What do I have to do? Say yes. Mason hesitated, tears in his eyes as he watched his friend Ava fall to the ground, screaming for help. His chest burned. His mind screamed. Every instinct told him this was insane, but something deeper, something older, whispered that it was right. He clenched his fists. Fine. Yes, I accept. Give me the damn flame. Alien stepped forward and pressed his hand to Mason's chest. Fire exploded through him. Not hot, but pure energy. Ow. Memories not his own flashed through his mind. Great wars in the stars, forgotten languages, worlds being devoured by shadows. Then silence. When Mason opened his eyes, the door was gone. The tomb was quiet. The alien was standing beside him. You are awake now, the mummy said, and everything will hunt you. Mason stumbled out of the tomb, his legs weak and his heart pounding. Smoke filled the air. The excavation site had turned into a battlefield. The mechanical spider drones were everywhere, hunting down the last survivors. Fires burned and the sand bodies lay scattered. The sky above had turned an angry red. The alien warrior Carr walked beside him like a shadow, calm and silent. His black armor glowed with ancient symbols, his eyes watching everything. They came for the flame, Takar said. They are machines of the void, mindless tools of the dark. Mason's stomach twisted. He spotted Ava, his closest friend. Crawling behind a rock, her suit was torn, her face bloody. He ran to her. Ava, it's me, Mason. She looked up, shocked. Mason, you're alive? What? What's happening? Before he could answer, a drone leaped toward them, razor limbs, flashing. Mason raised his hand by instinct, and golden pulse shot out. Blasting the drone into pieces, he stared at his hand, stunned. What the hell was that? Ava gasped. I don't know, Mason whispered. But I think I'm finally starting to believe this nightmare. Takar stepped forward. There is no time. More are coming. The flame inside you has awakened. It will call every dark thing in this system. Ava stood up, still limping. We need to get off this rock. Mason nodded. My rover's still active. If we can reach it suddenly, a voice crackled over Ava's communicator. It was a cold, familiar voice. Dr. Cade, this is Command Agent Rourke. Step away from the alien immediately. We're taking control. Mason froze. That voice belonged to the Terran Security Division, Earth's secret military branch. Rourke was the man in charge of alien artifact control. He was ruthless, and he didn't believe in mercy. "They've been watching us," Mason said quietly. "They knew about the tomb." Takar narrowed his glowing eyes. "They want to steal the flame. They do not care who burns." A dropship roared above, shining a blinding light down on them. Armed soldiers in black suits descended. One pointed a weapon at TR. "This is your only warning." Rourke's voice boomed from the ship. "Surrender the artifact and the spark bearer." Mason looked at Ava, then at the soldiers, then at Takar. He could feel the power in his chest, the ancient energy still humming in his bones. "I'm not an artifact," he said quietly. Then louder, "I'm not surrendering anything." Without warning, the ground beneath the soldiers cracked. Takar slammed his fist into the sand, and pillars of stone erupted, knocking soldiers flying. Mason raised his hand again, and golden energy exploded outward, sending more troops scattering. "Run!" Ava shouted. The three of them bolted through the chaos, heading for the rover hidden behind a rock ridge. Bullets and lasers flew past them. Mason could hear Rourke screaming over the comms, calling in drones and reinforcements, but somehow he felt calm, like this was what he was meant to do. They reached the rover, and Ava jumped into the driver's seat. Mason climbed in beside her, while Takar took position on the roof, deflecting shots with his armor. As the rover sped away into the Martian desert, Mason looked back. The tomb had collapsed. Fire lit the sky. And far in the distance, something worse was rising, a shadowy ripple in the air, like a tear in space itself. He turned to Carr. "What is that?" Carr didn't blink. "The void, it has seen you, and now it comes." Mason sat back, his hands still glowing faintly. He had mocked a dead alien. Now he was the last chance to stop the end of everything. The Martian desert stretched endlessly in all directions, dry and lifeless. The red sky above gave no warmth. Mason, Ava, and Takar had escaped the battle, but they weren't safe. Not yet. They had found shelter in an abandoned alien ruin. Hidden deep in the canyon walls, old stone towers, half buried in sand, filled with strange symbols and ancient silence. It was there that the real journey began. Mason sat on the cold stone floor, breathing heavily. His skin still glowed faintly, and he felt strange things moving inside him, memories that weren't his. Knowledge of languages he had never learned. At night, he dreamed of stars dying, of machines screaming, of a great black wave swallowing the sky. Carr stood over him, silent and watchful. "You are changing," the alien said. "The flame does not give power. It awakens what already sleeps inside." Mason wiped the sweat from his forehead. "You keep talking about the flame like it's some kind of magic, but I'm not a warrior. I'm just a guy who used to make jokes about ancient corpses." Takar's deep voice echoed through the ruins. "You mock because you are afraid."
Mason
Looked up, surprised. "You think I'm scared?" "I know it," Takar said, "but fear is not weakness. Fear is proof you understand the danger." Every day Takar trained him. The alien warrior taught him how to control the energy inside his body, how to move it, shape it, even use it to push objects without touching them. Mason struggled at first. He failed often. The power slipped out of control, burning holes in the walls, breaking old stones. But Ava was always there, watching with quiet worry. She had seen what Mason had done at the tomb. She had seen him glow like a star. And deep inside, she feared that Mason was becoming something more, or something less. One evening, after hours of training, Mason sat beside her. "You okay?" he asked softly. She didn't look at him. "You're not the same?" "I don't think I ever was," Mason replied. "I think this thing inside me was always waiting." Ava finally turned to him, her voice trembling. "Just don't forget who you are. Don't become like them. Like the soldiers, or Tak." Mason gave her a tired smile. "I won't. I promise." But Takar had been watching from the shadows. When Mason returned to training the next morning, the alien was waiting with a challenge. "Prove yourself," Takar said. "There is a chamber below this ruin. It holds a memory stone from my time. Touch it, and it will show you the truth." "What kind of truth?" Mason asked. "The kind that burns," Takar answered. Mason entered the underground chamber. It was dark and cold. The center stood a tall crystal pillar glowing softly. He placed his hand on it in an instant. His mind was pulled into another world. He saw Takar as a young warrior, leading a great army across the stars. He saw the rise of an empire made of fire and steel. He saw the void come endless and black, eating everything. And he saw the final battle, where Takar chose to be sealed away, hoping someone would come to finish the fight. When Mason came back, he was crying. "You saw?" Takar said. "I saw everything," Mason whispered. "You lost everything. Your people, your world." Takar nodded. "And now it's your turn to decide. Will you run, or will you fight?" Mason looked at his hands. They glowed brighter now, stronger, warmer. He took a deep breath. "I'll fight." Darkness was coming. Mason felt it before he saw it, a heavy weight pressing on his chest, a chill in the air that made the red Martian sky turn gray. The wind stopped. Even the dust in the air seemed afraid to move. Iva stood close beside him, her hand gripping a scanner that was flashing red. "There's a rift," she whispered. "A big one. Just opened over the northern ridge. Energy off the charts." Takar stepped forward, his black armor glowing brighter than ever before. He looked up at the sky with hard, ancient eyes. "The void has found you." From the clouds above, a tear in space opened like a bleeding wound. Black tendrils reached down, spreading across the sky like smoke with claws. Shapes moved within it too fast, two wrong things that did not belong in any world. Machines and monsters twisted together, their bodies made of shadows and metal. Mason clenched his fists. The golden energy within him pulsed, responding to the danger. "They're coming for me," he said. "This is my fault," Eva said, placing a hand on his arm. "You didn't bring the darkness. You're the one standing against it." Takar nodded. "This is the test. The flame will either rise or be extinguished." Without warning, the first wave of void creatures hit. They came down like a storm, black beasts with glowing mouths and razor limbs. Mason raised his hand, and a wall of golden light burst forward, blasting them away. Eva fired her weapon beside him. Carr moved like a ghost, slicing through the creatures with blades made of light, but there were too many. They kept coming. The sky was full of them. The ruin began to collapse under the weight of the attack. "We need to fall back," Eva shouted. "No," Mason said, eyes glowing. "If we run now, they'll follow us to Earth. We have to stop them here." Carr nodded. "Then we make our stand." They fought side by side, human, alien, and machine. Mason learned fast. His power grew with every strike, every defense, every desperate move. He wasn't a soldier, but he was becoming something more. His heart burned with purpose. He remembered the lives lost, the team at the tomb, the people who had trusted him. He wouldn't let it happen again, but then it happened. Ava screamed. Mason turned just in time to see a large void creature crash into her, knocking her down. Its claws pierced her side. She cried out, trying to crawl away. "No," Mason shouted. He rushed forward, blasting the beast apart with a golden pulse, then fell to her side. Blood stained her uniform. Her breathing was shallow. "I'm okay," she whispered, forcing a weak smile. "Just a scratch." Mason held her hand. "Don't lie to me. You saved me once. Let me save you now." Carr approached slowly, looking down with a heavy expression. "She will not survive this wound. Not without time." "Time we do not have." Mason's chest tightened. For the first time, he felt helpless. The power in him could destroy, protect, and shape the world, but it could not heal. "I can't lose her," he said, voice cracking. Ava looked at him with tired eyes. "You have to go, Mason. The void won't stop. You're the only one." Who can end this? Tears filled Mason's eyes. He shook his head. I'm not strong enough. You are, she said softly. 'Cause you care. That's your power. You're human. With those words, she closed her eyes. Her hand went still in his silence. Mason knelt there for a moment, the world spinning around him. Then something changed. His light flared, his heartbeat slowed. He stood, eyes burning gold. He faced the sky, the rift still open, monsters still falling, and he whispered, now, I fight for her. The sun was setting over Mars, but Mason didn't notice. He stood quietly beside Ava's resting place, a simple grave made of stone marked with her name. The red wind blew softly around him. His hands were still glowing, but the warmth inside had changed. It was no longer just power. It was pain, purpose. Takar watched him from a distance. The old warrior had seen thousands die in battle, but something about Mason's silence held weight, a grief that could not be spoken, only carried. She believed in you, Takar said at last. I know, Mason replied, his voice calm. And now I believe in myself. Mason was no longer the man who had laughed at a mummy. The spark had changed him, but so had loss. Ava's death had burned away the last of his fear. What remained was a man ready to fight for everyone who couldn't, but he knew he couldn't do it. Alone, they returned to an old Martian relay station and sent a signal to Earth. Mason stood in front of the camera, his face tired but steady. My name is Dr. Mason Cade. You've seen the reports. The void is real. It's here, and it will not stop. He paused, then spoke with more strength. But there's still hope. We found ancient technology, weapons, power, and we can use them. Humanity was never meant to be weak. We just forgot who we are. We look straight into the lens. We're not running anymore. We fight. Because we choose to. Because we must. The message spread like fire. From Earth to Luna, from the colonies on Titan to deep space outposts, people watched. Mason's message, soldiers, scientists, pilots, miners, survivors, and they answered his. Call Takar helped him guide them. Together, they unlocked hidden alien ruins and recovered lost tech. Human engineers adapted it fast, blending alien strength with human creativity. New weapons were built, starfighters powered by crystal cores, armor that pulsed with golden energy. AI systems fused with ancient knowledge. The spark Mason carried awakened sparks in others, not of power, but of courage. People who had once feared the darkness now rose to face it. In just a few weeks, a fleet was born. A resistance TA Scar stood beside Mason as they looked out over the launch bay of the largest human ship ever built, the Vigilant Flame. You did what my people could not, Carr said. You united your kind in the face of destruction. Mason nodded. We're not perfect, but when it matters, we show up. Carr placed a hand on Mason's shoulder. You carry the flame, while Sparkbearer, as they prepared to leave, a new signal arrived. A massive void rift had opened near Jupiter. Thousands of creatures had already begun attacking the outer colonies. Earth was next. This is it, Mason said. The final battle. He boarded the Vigilant Flame, leading a fleet of human ships glowing with golden light. As they approached, the Rift Mason stood before the crew. We're not just fighting for survival, we're fighting for what makes us human. Our will, our love, our pain, our fire. His voice echoed through the ship. They tried to break us, but we're still. Here, the void rift loomed ahead, black, endless, and full of monsters, and humanity was flying straight into it. The stars looked cold and silent as the human fleet moved closer to the massive rift near Jupiter. Black tendrils stretched across space like veins, pulsing with dark energy. It wasn't just a tear in space, it was a wound, and the void was. The infection Mason stood at the command deck of the Vigilant Flame, his body glowing with golden light. The spark inside him was no longer wild. It was focused, controlled, ready. Takar stood beside him, wearing full ceremonial armor, his eyes sharp and steady. This is the moment, Takar said. You were born for this. Mason took a deep breath, remembered Ava's smile, her strength, her final words. He wasn't afraid anymore. He wasn't just fighting to stop the darkness. He was fighting to honor her, to protect humanity, and to fulfill the promise he made in the tomb. All ships, Mason said into the cum. This is it. We go together and we fight as one. The fleet responded, captains, pilots, engineers, their voices filled with fire. They were ready. The battle began with a roar. Void creatures poured from the rift. Black horrors with twisted forms and razor wings. They attacked in endless waves, but the human fleet pushed forward. Alien tech mixed with human will. Golden energy shields shimmered. Starfighters moved in perfect coordination. Mason led from the front, piloting a ship infused with the flame. Every move he made burned with purpose. He destroyed enemy after enemy, never slowing down. But the void was endless. The deeper they flew into the rift, the darker everything became. The space around them twisted. Time slowed. Ships were torn. Apart, friends screamed. Brave warriors fell. Still, Mason pressed on. At the heart of the rift, they found it, the Void Core. A massive sphere of pure darkness, pulsing like a living heart. It was the source of everything, and it was alive. A voice echoed through Mason's mind. Cold, ancient, hungry. You are dust. You are weak. You are nothing. Mason clenched his fists. You're wrong. He flew straight into the core, his ship breaking apart as he reached it. His body floated in the dark, surrounded by shadows. The void tried to consume him, whispering, doubts showing him every failure, every loss. But he remembered Ava. He remembered Takar's faith. He remembered Earth, and he lit up like a sun. The flame inside him exploded, pushing the darkness back. His memories became his strength. His grief became power. He wrapped his mind around the core. Pouring every part of himself into it, the rift began to collapse. Takar, watching from the flagship, bowed his head. He is the flame now. Blinding light filled the sky, and then silence. When the light faded, the rift was gone. The void was gone. But so was Mason. Only his name remained, whispered by every survivor, honored in every city. Statues were built. His story was told across the stars. Children were named after him. And above all, one truth was remembered. He had mocked a mummy, but he became the man who saved the galaxy. Takar returned to Earth, standing before the leaders of humanity. He was not chosen because he was strong. He became strong because he chose to fight. Years later, in a peaceful future, a young girl stood in front of Mason's statue. She looked up and asked, did he really glow like fire? Father smiled. Yes, and when the stars went dark, he became our light.